couple of the oldest types. This is simply a brake action. Uses a top lever to open the action. This particular model is a 20 gauge Montgomery Ward's model. Single shot. And just pushing that lever over simply opens the action. You close it. You must pull the hammer back manually in order to fire it. But again, that's a brake action shotgun. Now there's many ways to open the action. The top lever. There are some side levers out there. I don't happen to own a side lever example, but there's some where the lever pushes down right here. Then there's another type that almost looks like a lever action of a variety, but this lever simply opens the action. And again, you know, right there's your barrel for your empty chamber for loading a shell. You close it up. You still have to pull the hammer back manually, but that's still a brake action shotgun, even though it uses a lever, because it's a single shot type. Next, we're going to migrate to the side-by-side. Now, side-by-sides came in various forms, but the identifying feature is the barrels are side-by-side. This particular model is a Springfield built by Stevens, belonged to my late grandfather. One of only two of his guns that I managed to acquire upon his death. This one, again, as in the single shot, the brake action. This model can be opened with either a side lever or the top lever, as in this one. You open it up, and there's your chambers for loading both barrels at the same time. This model doesn't get fired much, again because it's an inherited family heirloom, but that's what a side-by-side shotgun looks like. Next, we're going to go to the over-under shotgun. Gets its name simply because the barrels are one on top of the other. Again, a top lever opens the action to expose the chambers for loading and unloading. This particular model is unfired new in the box, as it is an NRA commemorative edition. And a feature I will point out, which will also be shown in later videos, this is your sliding safety to put the gun on and off of safety, and this is your barrel selector switch to decide which barrel you want to shoot first. Not all of these have this, but that is your barrel selector switch. To take off safety and unload the chambers here, or unload the triggers. So that's your over-under action. Next, we're going to go. Shotguns were made with bolt actions as well, and I didn't use a lot of forethought and didn't get this one out. And now all I have to do is find it. There it is. Buried, of course, in the far back of the safe as it can possibly be. So it'll take me just a minute to work my way back to it here. As always, I want to remind you that the guns should be checked to make sure they are unloaded at all times before you handle one. More firearms or accidents occur because people think it's unloaded and don't check. Okay, I, whenever possible, store mine in the unloaded condition. This is an old bolt action Sears shotgun. It is a 12 gauge. And just like a bolt action rifle, the bolt comes forward and retracts. This particular model uses a tube feed. Since shotgun shells are naturally flat in the front, unlike a rifle, you don't have to worry about the pointed bullet issue. But that is a bolt action shotgun. Next, we're going to go to the pump action, which is probably the most common in the United States today. The pump action shotgun gets its name simply because, you pull it back, you pump the action. This particular model is a Stevens 16 gauge, but you pump it back, and again, the magazine shells are stored in a tube under here, and that is how the actions work. That's how it gets its name as the pump action. And lastly, we're going to discuss the semi-automatic. The semi-automatic action as soon as I find it. This particular model is a Remington 1148. It's also in 16 gauge. Again, the action is open, but what this one does is uses the recoil forces generated by the shotgun shell to cycle the action back. The empty is ejected. A new one, a fresh shell is fed up from the tube feed magazine, again located right here, and fed into the chamber as the action cycles. I'll push the button to close the action, and that's how. That's your semi-automatic basic action. There are variations on these themes, of course, but those are your basic shotgun actions that you will run into today, and that's how to identify them.